so glad I found this. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I found this. I'm so glad I did. People are fragile things you should know by now. Be careful what you put them through. People are fragile things you should know by now. You speak when you're spoken to. It breaks when you don't foresee. It breaks when you don't lie. It breaks if you don't foresee. It breaks if you don't try. You don't try. People are fragile things you should know by now. Be careful what you put them through. People are fragile things you should know by now. You speak when you're spoken to. With one hand you calm me, with one hand I'm still. With one hand you calm me, with one hand I'm still. People are fragile things you should know by now. Be careful what you put them through. People are fragile things you should know by now. You speak when you're spoken to. You'll 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 speak when you're spoken to. Thank you.
Editors, please join us. We have Tom, Russell, and Ed.
Hi.
Yeah. So, Russell, before you went in with Flood, you demoed the songs in Elephant and Castle, which is in South London, which I imagine was a pretty kind of basic environment and setup. Was that useful for you guys getting to grips with these new songs?
Yeah, well, we always go in and work through the songs before we go in with the producer, and work out Tom's demos that he sends to us. And I can't remember, what was the studio called? I don't know.
The Pool.
With the Pool. So it was quite well equipped, and we went in, and the title track on the record came out of that, and that was the most relevant because we sent that to Flood, and that was the one that I think he was working with 30 Seconds to Mars, and looking forward to a new project, and he'd listen to that.
To not working.
Yeah, and he'd listen to the title track, and he was in. So we'd done that ourselves, and that was the direction, and that hinted where this record was going to go.
Okay. Ed, we're going to listen to In This Light and On This Evening, the title track, in a second. But so that was, as Russell said, that was the demo version that's actually on the album. what were the key, if you like, sonic qualities of that demo that Flood thought were, you know, untouchable and unimpeachable?
Well, it was the first song that we'd heard from Tom's original demos, and initially, you know, there's a straight down the line synth. It's this really throbbing, ominous synth, and it's unmistakable. And that really was the beat to that song, you know, and it really set up a theme for the entire record. You know, we were trying to make something that was dark and synthetic, you know, really encompassing all of the themes about you know, London that you might hear on the record. You know, it's sort of ever present. And so that's really the first thing you hear, is really, as the introduction to the record. I think it's really important. Other than that, you'll hear rhythm guitars that don't really sound like rhythm guitars, sort of very agitated sounding, and the production that Flood brought to us, you know, he said that he wanted us to make machines sound human. So although we all wanted to make a synthetic record, we wanted some humanality to it. We wanted to feel like that there were mistakes in there, even, you know, sort of human rhythms, that all of our personalities were on the track. So it's a really good place to start.
I mean, from the off, Russell, you wanted to make a record using electronic equipment, but you wanted to retain the kind of humanity or soulfulness of the band. I mean, how did you and Flood arrive at that, you know, mixture of the electronic and organic, if you like?
Yeah, well, we played it all in a room that must be about this size, and we put a PA in that room. We wanted to get the kind of, you know, us playing live and the power, you know, the live take, and record that on tape. We also used it's a Neumann head mic. It's quite expensive, and it kind of replicates the human ears. So we wanted for people to hear, you know, how we were playing in that room. I think you can, you know, hear that even more so with the kind of high resolution audio, you know, on these. So yeah, we just wanted to capture the band playing, you know, in a room, and you can hear that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of the mixture of the human and the machine, if you like, it was commented at the time, Tom, that this song did sound like a combination of Eurythmics and the Terminator, which I think people thought might have been a dig at you, but you actually like that reference.
Yeah, that was kind of the point. I did an interview with Radio 1, and the DJ said the same thing. He even played a clip of Eurythmics with "I'll Be Back" going on over the top of it. It's like this kind of light-hearted moment to introduce the song, and I agreed. And that was it, really. I mean, I don't know, that was kind of the point, and those two things combining, and I don't know, it made sense to us.
And I think, Ed, on the next track we're going to discuss, The Big Exit, there's a similar thing, you guys with mics on your throats.
Yeah, this was Flood's ingenious idea of the whole record, I think. He basically strapped a microphone like this and taped it to our throats, and we shouted a word which is always going to remain a secret, so I'm not going to divulge that. We sort of fed it back into the PA that we had into the room, so we sort of screamed out this noise, and we sort of fed it back into the room, recorded it through all the mics that we had set up in the main studio, and then processed that, and then fed it back out again, and just the noise that it made, it was the loudest thing I've ever heard, and to try and capture that was good fun. It was a great studio day. You know, it felt like we weren't really working, it was just sort of messing about with sound, really.
Okay.
Which is good fun to do. Okay. So that's called the Robo Cow.
Robo
You'll
Cow.
hear that throughout the song, but it comes in right at the start.
Okay. Yeah, so that distorted cow is not a cow. No animals were harmed in the making of this album. But 3 seconds in, you'll hear that. So listen out for that at the very top of the Big Exit. And then there's another moment which Tom picked out, comes in at the 4 minute and 30 seconds mark on the Big Exit. Something sad, something sampled, something brassy.
Yeah, I mean, this song is this song's a million miles away from the type of thing we were doing on the back room, or when we were playing more guitar-oriented music. And this song really kind of sums up. This is our most experimental, and it's very synthetic. There's a lot of as the song builds and it kicks in, it's quite claustrophobic and intense, and it's for us it was a very challenging piece of music. So that kind of up against the last kind of brass chords, which are the outro, which is a natural sound, even though they were sampled, is a moment on the record which I always like.
yeah, because they follow that kind of synthetic madness, and suddenly you've got this calmish brass moment, which I like. In like Facebook or social media or any kind of interaction with the fans, they all talk in their communities about the songs and the records that they like, and they're not necessarily those songs that are great on stage either. So something like The Boxer, or maybe like some early kind of B-sides, fan favourites, they get talked about, and people talk to us about them when they meet us and stuff. So I know that The Boxer is a song that a lot of the hardcore fans listen to and like a lot, and I do too. I don't listen to it a lot. I like it a lot. It'd be weird if I just sit around and listen to any music.
Okay. One thing that hopefully the Sony high-res will reveal when you hear it today is the piano detail, and this is something Tom explained to me in some detail, but I'm going to ask him to explain it again, because the piano isn't just a quote-unquote straight piano performance, is it?
Well, I get, like we talked about the whole way through, this kind of having kind of synthetic keyboard, electronic elements going along with more traditional band elements, be it us just playing together or using sounds which are more organic and natural, like the piano. So in the case of The Boxer, as most of these songs were, they were recorded to tape, but to make the piano fit with this electronic surrounding, we ran the tape at double speed. I played the song twice as fast as it is as you hear on there, and then when you play the tape back at normal speed, the piano is in time with the song but has a kind of sadness and a meandering kind of lethargy. It's kind of, it sounds different. It sounds, so that's Flood's kind of genius, really. We would have never done that without him.
Okay, so that's an experiment that did work. Russell, was there anything on the album, an experimental thing, singing on the roof, singing in the toilet, and anything that didn't work? It was absolutely catastrophic.
What didn't make it?
I always put that sort of thing right out of my mind straight away.
Did you sing naked at all, Tom?
No, you can maybe listen to some of the songs that didn't make the record to hear that. Maybe some of those songs that just ended up as B-sides. Okay. I guess were ideas that didn't. But there's nothing like singing naked or anything like that. That's far too interesting.
Tom, maybe you could talk about why this song is a nice bookend to the run of songs and the album as a whole.
Yeah. The opening of the record was obvious from us to the start, like Ed said. It's probably the first 4 songs, really. We knew that was how we wanted this record to start. But then with this final song, the synthesizer which starts it is the same synthesizer that starts the first song. So there's a symmetry there that I like, we all liked. I think we always feel that albums should end with sad songs. It should feel like the last dance of the evening. There's a few sad songs on there. Most of our songs are sad, but this one felt like some kind of soothing electronic gospel sad closer. And like I said, the symmetry of having the same synthesizer starting and ending the record spoke to us.
And there's something else that hearing the song in this format today will reveal, which is the kind of the human dynamics that go on within the band. And the band, they might want to talk about this at the close of this session and touch on it at the start of the next session, but this last song was, in a way, the last contribution from Chris, the former guitarist, who left after this record, and there's the close of this song, which is a contribution from Chris that you seem to be, still gives you some funny feelings when you hear it back.
Well, I think it's apparent to us that over the course of, I think Chris exists in a different world to us three melodically, and that's what made the whole thing so great for the first 3 records. But there came a point where that stopped working. So it's not like the outro of this song is the reason that Chris. But melodically, it doesn't make any sense to me where it goes. And but I also think that's a good thing. I think oddness and conflict in the band can create great moments. And we're a democracy, and we were then, and so it stayed. But the outro to me doesn't make any sense. And like I say, Chris does exist in a different world to us three, and that's probably why I sat here now. We stopped finding a way of being able to make that relationship as a 4-piece work. So there's a slight indicator in that outro where chordally and melodically, like I say, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Final word to Ed, as the man sitting at the back, as it were, when you hear this song now, do you hear a kind of an era, if you like, or a phase of the band ending and a new one coming over the horizon?
I mean, I hadn't really thought of it in that context before, but you know, it does make a lot of sense, and it was. I mean, we didn't just stop after writing the record. You know, we went on, we did a very successful tour, but it was that sort of the breakup of our relationship together, and it led us to a sort of couple of years in the wilderness, really rediscovering what really meant to us, and that definitely brought us on to writing, as we'll talk about later, the Way of Your Love.
When they came to make this record, they started out with Flood, and even though you'd had that great experience with Flood before, this time, even recording it 1, 2, and sometimes 3 times, the songs with Flood weren't working. Do you want to say, maybe Russell, do you want to say why this time it didn't gel with him, and why you needed to then look further afield?
Well, in the words of Flood, the worst session he's ever done. So we have that.
What made it the worst session ever?
Well, communication between the band. You know, where we were as people. You know, it got to that point. You know, we got to that age. Musically, I think. You know, Chris had he was kind of done, and we wanted to you know, push ourselves further, and it didn't feel like we were. And when we went to record, we did like 2 sessions. Don't know, must have spent about 10 weeks in the studio. We still only had like maybe 2 songs that you could perhaps listen to, which for us was not good. So we had to address the problem.
Okay. I mean, Ed, after you spend, you know, almost a year, it seems, in the end, not getting very far, did you have to go back and look at the songs that you had already and chuck a bunch of them, or just look at them in a different light?
Yeah, it wasn't a case of chucking them. I think we all, well, 3 of us thought that the songs were right, and I think just the approach, we couldn't agree on exactly how to sort of formulate them as a band, and you know, this isn't a slight on Flood. You know, we worked with him tirelessly to try and make something out of it, but we couldn't agree within the group what to do with most of the tracks. So we had to make a sort of very tough personal decision and professional decision, which is intrinsically linked when it comes to your bandmates. So we decided to part company with Chris, and because we knew that the songs that Tom had written were songs that we knew could turn up on an album that we'd be entirely proud of.
So Chris left the band, and that summer of 2012, Editors had a huge show in Werchter in Belgium. Done any of you guys there? Headline? No, washing their hair. But biggest show of their career, so they got in 2 new guys, Justin Lockie and Elliot Williams. Getting the 2 new guys in, Tom, and playing these big shows that summer, did that feel like it kind of rejuvenated both you guys and also the songs you were sitting on?
Yeah, it did both those things. Because initially the plan was to make the record as a 3-piece, but having the show on the horizon, we couldn't do the show as a 3-piece. We needed to get people in to help us out and play those old parts, and you know, we made the decision to get 2 people in, and yeah, rehearsals for the show instantly felt fresh, and we felt reinvigorated, and it was going very well, and the show was a success. You know, like you said, the biggest thing we'd done, we were very nervous, debuting new members. We also played, I mean, the rehearsals went so well, we actually debuted new songs from those rehearsals at the show. So the band suddenly felt, you know, in a very different position than we were the year previously.
Okay, so after they did these shows, you know, the band did feel rejuvenated, and then by the start of the following year, they were headed to the furthest afield you'd gone, really, you know, geographically and perhaps sonically. You know, working with Jakir King in the historic Blackbird Studios in Nashville. Russell, do you want to talk about what it was about that place, that studio, and that guy?
Yeah, well, we'd spent a lot of time in London and the UK, and you know, we were rehearsing as a 5-piece band, and we were playing everything pretty straightforward. We wanted it to be that way. We wanted it to be an organic record, and it was intentionally going to sound very different in this light. And we were just trying to think of who the next Scott Litt, you know, did lots of REM records. We were thinking, like, who can capture, you know, us like he did with them. And Jakir has worked with a lot of different artists, and mainly in Nashville. And we thought, let's go over there. And, you know, it would be good for all of us to, you know, escape our headspace and just concentrate on what we had to do.
I mean, it sounds like the confluence of the studio, or the producer of the songs, and the kit in the studio were kind of almost made for these kind of Sony high-res versions we'll hear today, Tom, because it's the most hi-fi song album you've made?
I think so. I think it's the way that Jakir produces and the way he records sounds. It's his attention to detail and the quality of the sound is very important. Getting a good pure sound and then just concentrating on great performances. And it's not really about cutting things up in the computer. And although it sounds very well produced and quite detailed, it's actually quite old-fashioned in the way he works. And Blackbird Studio, like you say, the gear is just phenomenal. Like hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of microphones and beautiful old kind of analog desks, and it's all the studios in London feel very much like not their part of their charm is that they're kind of falling apart in a way, and this one felt like recession-proof. This was just like slick in an old analog way.
Okay. So the first track we're going to discuss is The Wait, which opens the record. And knowing your love of REM and Americana, was the title a nod to the band?
It wasn't actually. No, sorry.
Okay.
I do like that song.
Next question.
But there was no nodding going on.
Okay, right. What made that the first track on this album, Tom?
I think it's, you have ideas for songs and this kind of has an immediate kind of impact really. It's straight away you're in a very different sonic world than we were within this light, which was important obviously, but it's theatrical, its melodies are big, there's a straightforward kick drum down the middle, but I think you're straight away you're in a new world, and an instant world. And also it's kind of a blues song too, it's very different for us.
So did the blues backdrop, Russell, lend itself to late night recording and tequila?
A lot of it, yeah. Jakir was very good at a margarita. You can hear us on this record stomping our feet, and that was all around the microphone late at night. And that adds to the sound, and you can definitely hear the footsteps.
So we'll hear that rawness on the high-res version, and the strings as well, which previously you might have, as a band, kind of shied away from. Why did you go for it this time on this track with the strings?
Having recorded 3 albums previously, I think we all shied away from that. You think it's a bit too polished, and maybe it didn't suit the songs we were writing. But for this record, it gave us an opportunity, not just with strings but with brass sections as well, to emphasise the points of the acoustic songs that we were playing, sort of the more rock songs. We felt that just to orchestrate them slightly more just gave us enough opportunities to make them sound a bit more cinematic.
Did you go in as a guitarist feeling liberated by the new environment and the new lineup, and maybe able to do more of these flourishes?
Well, I didn't play much guitar on this record really. It's just Justin, the new guy, played all the guitar.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so brand new player then, you were willing to give him the responsibility of...
We didn't want him to come in and be Chris Part 2. That wasn't the point. We didn't want someone that could just play Munich perfectly. We were thinking about the long-term future of the band and getting somebody else in. So when he came in and, gave us his kind of opinion on, I guess, old songs, but more importantly on the new songs, and tried out his ideas, the fact that they were different than what Chris would ever have done was just a good thing for us.
Talking about that aspect of things, when you've played live with the new lineup, have you kind of in a way reverse engineered some of the back catalogue so it does sound different and fits with the new players more?
A lot of it. Some songs, something like Munich, we could never really get it right, but just add a keyboard in there, and away it goes. So we redid a lot of the old material with these new guys. Extra pair of hands is very good.
Yeah. Okay, let's listen to Sugar. A couple of points that Tom flagged up that might be of oral note. That riff section you mentioned, that's at 2:15 and then 3:30. Maybe listen out for the kind of different guitar flourishes. And then at the 3-minute 12-second mark, I don't know, did you fall off your stool, or were you shouting at somebody, or ordering more tequila?
So there's like a double chorus, and then there's like a little gap in between the lines. And there's kind of, I don't think it was tequila led, but there's like a primal yelp in the background, which you can't really hear in the mix.
Okay.
It's kind of cool.
Okay, let's test.
You can hear it better on this, certainly.
Let's test high res's high fidelity and see if you can hear this yelp at the 3-minute 12-second mark.
It's a melodic yelp,
Melodic.
It's not just a dog.
So this is what Tom has described as the album's centrepiece. For this, they brought in Clint Mansell, who some of you might know used to be in an odd British band called Pop Will Eat Itself. Is now the kind of go-to guy in LA for all your big soundtracks. Darren Aronofsky can't make a movie without him. So did you think this track requires a special bit of orchestration arrangement and Clint's the guy for it?
There was a point where we thought that, yes. I mean, there's quite a long, drawn-out story with the song, because initially it was also one of the ones that we were playing around with on stage before we went to Nashville. And the live version of it was very immediate, and we kind of changed the time signature. It came more straightforward, and it worked very well on stage. People really liked it. But it wasn't really connected, or wasn't that similar to the song I originally wrote, which had a different feel and a different swagger to it, more like the version on the album. But sometimes the decision of where to take a song stylistically in the studio is not particularly easy. It's not a simple thing. So we actually tried to record the rock version. I think all in the back of our minds we all knew that it probably wasn't going to work, because I think we all listened back to my demo which doesn't have the same swing to it. So, but we did try, and like I said, it didn't work. So when we went back to my original demo and thinking about what we were going to do with the song then, I think stripping it right back to just strings felt like a really brave thing to do with it. We talked about Eleanor Rigby, and then we talked about, well, who can help us paint this picture. And Clint Mansell is from Birmingham, and very talented, and sent it the song, and he was into it. So I think we made the right decision. But a lot of our fans probably won't agree. But, you know.
So it's the rock version you play live though?
We have done, yeah, we do. Obviously we can't do that live. We do still play the more straightforward version live sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for having us, everybody. This will be the last one.
Pull the blindfold down so your eyes can see. Now run as fast as you can through this field of trees. Say goodbye to everyone you've ever known. You're not gonna see them ever again. I can't shake this feeling I've got right here in the hands of I've been in the walls, the saddest thing that I ever see. The smoke is outside the hospital door. Someone turn me around. Can I start this again? How can we wear a smile with our mouths wide shut? Just stopped us from singing. I can't shake this feeling I've got my dirty hands of I've been in the walls, the saddest thing that I'd ever see was smoke is outside the hospital doors. Someone turn me around. Can I stop this again? Now someone turn us around. Can we been changed from what we were. Our broken hearts smashed on the floor. I can't blame you if I can't hear you. We've all been changed from what we were. Our broken hearts smashed on